A 14-year-old boy leaves his home in Doncaster for school. A few hours later, he is captured on CCTV walking out of King's Cross Station in London. After that, he is never confirmed to be seen again. What started out as an utterly ordinary Friday morning, September 14, 2007, slowly unspooled into one of the most haunting, unresolved missing person cases in the UK. We're looking at a scenario that completely defies our understanding of how someone can just disappear in broad daylight in one of the most heavily surveilled cities on Earth.
Let's start with that ordinary school morning. To really understand this mystery, we have to understand the boy at the center of it. Andrew Gosden was 14. He was quiet, highly intelligent, and academically gifted, prize-winning mathematician. He loved history, science, philosophy, metal bands, gaming, typical teenager stuff. But most importantly, Andrew was known as a total homebird. He rarely left the house without telling anyone. He wasn't some rebellious teenager in crisis, and he was absolutely not known as a runaway.
But on this specific morning, Andrew deviated entirely from his normal routine. At 8:05 a.m., he left the house, looking exactly as if he were heading to his bus stop. But instead, he walked to a local cash machine. After making a withdrawal, he actually just waited. He waited for his parents to leave for work, and then he quietly returned to an empty house. These were highly deliberate actions. He was clearly orchestrating a window of time for himself. And you have to look at the exact amount he withdrew. He took out exactly £200 from his bank account, which had a balance of £214. But hauntingly, he deliberately left behind about £100 in saved birthday cash sitting right there in his room. Think about it. If he was running away to start a completely new life, why wouldn't he take every single penny he had available?
Once he was back inside the empty house, Andrew took off his school uniform and put it in the washing machine. He changed into black jeans and a black Slipknot t-shirt. He grabbed his wallet, his keys, a bag covered in rock band patches, and his PlayStation Portable. But look at what he didn't take. No passport. He didn't grab a jacket or a coat, even though it was September in the UK. And perhaps most tellingly, he left behind the charger for his PSP. If he meant to vanish, why on earth did he leave so much behind?
And this is exactly where the case becomes so much harder to explain. That one-way ticket. Andrew left his house for the final time and walked to Doncaster railway station. And his next decision, it deepens the mystery significantly and completely changes the trajectory of the day. At the ticket counter, Andrew bought a ticket to London King's Cross. Now, the ticket seller vividly remembered this interaction because she explicitly offered him a return ticket. She told him it would cost just 50 pence more than the single fare, but Andrew insisted on the one-way ticket. That one detail changes how you read the entire day. But then, another detail pushes right back against it. If he meant to come home, why explicitly decline a return ticket for just 50p? Then we get to King's Cross Station. Andrew boarded the 9:35 a.m. train alone. A passenger sitting nearby later reported that he was quiet, just completely engrossed in playing his PSP, acting like any normal teenager. He was heading toward London, which was a city he was actually quite familiar with. He'd visited its museums and exhibitions before, and he had extended family living there. So he wasn't a lost child wandering into the unknown. He was traveling to a place he knew.
This all builds to the critical choke point of the timeline. The train arrives. At 11:25 a.m., the station's CCTV cameras capture Andrew walking out of the main entrance of King's Cross. You can see a boy in a black t-shirt just blending into the lunchtime crowds of one of Europe's busiest transit hubs. And that specific moment caught on camera, that is the absolute last confirmed sighting of Andrew Gosden.
This brings us to the stark contradictions of the case. Up until that exact second, Andrew looked like a boy with a plan. He'd engineered an absence from school, gathered funds, navigated the rail system, and successfully arrived at his destination. But the plan completely disappears the moment he steps out of King's Cross. There's no subsequent trace, no digital footprint, no further confirmed cameras. This is the central emotional tension of the entire case. Andrew's actions seem planned, but they are not planned enough for a permanent disappearance. He took money, but not all of it. He bought a one-way ticket, but didn't pack for a new life. He brought his favorite gaming device, but left the charger that would actually keep it alive. He went to London, but had no confirmed destination. He knew the city, but vanished after leaving one of its busiest stations. Compounding this entire mystery is a really tragic administrative error. When Andrew didn't show up for his morning classes, his school did attempt to contact his parents, but they dialed an incorrect, outdated phone number, so the warning never arrived. His parents had absolutely no idea he was missing until they sat down for dinner that evening.
That terrible delay meant police didn't start looking immediately, which likely cost investigators the crucial chance to trace his path through London's sprawling CCTV network before those tapes were simply written over.
From there, the trail fades into the shadows. Without a camera trail, we are genuinely left to guess. Was this just a secret one-day trip? Maybe Andrew simply wanted to attend a concert, visit a museum, or just do something he felt was easier to ask forgiveness for later, fully intending to return home that evening and accept whatever punishment came his way.
But again, the contradictions just keep arising. If he meant to come home, why buy a one-way ticket? This leads many to the chilling possibility that he actually went to London to meet someone, perhaps someone who was not who they claimed to be, a person who had groomed him, built his trust, and promised him that everything, including a safe ride home, would be taken care of.
So the crucial question is this: if someone was waiting for him, how did they reach him? Extensive digital forensic investigations of his home laptop, his school computers, and even the local library found absolutely no trace of online activity, no secret email accounts. Sony even confirmed that no online account was ever created on his PSP. So if there was no digital grooming, did Andrew, who was small for his age and alone in a massive city, simply encounter an opportunistic predator right after stepping out of the station? And if no one was waiting for him, what actually happened after he stepped outside King's Cross? The years following that morning have just been an agonizing cycle of false hope. There were later possible sightings at a Pizza Hut and in Covent Garden, but none of them were ever confirmed. In 2008, a mysterious man used an intercom at a Leominster police station, claiming to have information about Andrew, but you fled into the night before speaking properly to police. The family even funded a sonar search of the River Thames, very carefully handling the heartbreaking yet unproven possibilities of suicide or an accident. Yet, his bank account has never been touched. Then, in December 2021, there was a sudden shockwave. South Yorkshire police arrested 2 men on suspicion of kidnap and human trafficking in connection with Andrew. Devices were seized. The entire public held its breath. But after a grueling investigation, both men were entirely eliminated from the inquiry and released without charge. It is absolutely vital to state they must not be treated as suspects. The arrests were a total dead end, leaving the family right back in the void.
Which leaves us with an unresolved echo. Could Andrew Gosden still be alive today? Some people wonder, and the charity Missing People still directs appeals to him, letting him know support is available whenever he's ready. But to survive for nearly 2 decades without generating a single national insurance record, a hospital visit, a bank transaction, or a confirmed photograph, the absolute lack of any confirmed trace makes that incredibly difficult to understand.
We are left staring at the exact same chilling image we started with. A boy with a plan who vanishes into the crowd. We see the clothes he chose, the bag he carried, the steps he took. But beyond the glass doors of that station, there is only an enduring, silent emptiness. Andrew Gosden was last seen walking out of King's Cross in broad daylight.